So, on this episode of the Arrival Lounge, we're going to be speaking to a family that has been in Australia for some time. It was a family, and in fact, we've become, I would say, good friends. Family that has lived in Australia, family of three that have now called Australia home, and we're going to be getting their perspective on their journey when starting this process, as well as how life has been for them in Australia. Looking forward to it. So, guys, first question, and amongst many of, I suppose, that we're going to be covering in today's podcast. How's family doing? How are the three of you doing?
We are
What
doing
was?
really well. We are very lucky to be here. We love Australia.
It has been, well, at least from the conversations we've had with them, it's been quite easy for a lot of teachers to get involved and settle in, especially sort of your outer skirts areas. Like
Mm,
they like considered like rural, but you're not
mm.
in the sticks. You know, you're not gonna just live amongst kangaroos and that's it.
I
Yeah,
think if I was moving to Australia, I think I'd like to start off
yeah,
a little bit in the on the outskirts, and then maybe if things go well, maybe move inwards towards
yeah.
the city.
What was sort of the I don't know, I guess the advice that you may have received from families that have already gone there, or not advice, and just the day-to-day obstacles that you experience as a family. What things did you go through to adjust to Australia?
So polite and lovely. Like there's just a sense of everyone
Mm.
like understands life and understands what we're going through. And
Mm,
just it sounds so silly, but it was a big change for us. Um, it felt like everyone wasn't living in this stress mode always, and I felt that in South Africa, everyone was in this rush, and you're in town, and someone might be bumping you with their trolley because they're in a rush, and they don't really, no one has the patience and the love. And here, everyone seems a lot calmer for me.
is that to do with is that to do with
That's such a good
afford?
point.
It is a great point,
Yeah.
and I think it's the first thing that hit my mind was affordability.
Yes.
So we're in a rush because we
rush
need to be
element
doing a lot
is
of things to
that.
keep up and survive.
If you're not working 38 hours a week
Yes.
in South Africa,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're probably exceeding 120 hours, maybe more. You know,
Mm,
you like Elon Musk
mm, mm.
on a day to day in South Africa. Where I think in Australia, and I don't know, I might be wrong here, Simone and Sean, but from a work balance point of view, would you say that you guys have achieved that in Australia?
It is better. It is better on the family. It all depends on what industry you are.
Mm.
But
Mm.
we've been very lucky that your, if I can say this, and it's a previous boss that I had here in Australia. He said to me, and I don't know if this is going to make sense to everybody. In certain countries, you work to live, and in some countries, you live to work.
Mm.
And he says Australia is a country that work is not the most important thing in your life because of um, it's much easier here to get by and save money for a rainy day, and be able to afford an emergency circumstances. I know it's
Mm.
individually, but what he said to me that day made sense. That it is obviously a different dynamic with a low unemployment rate of Australia compared to other places in the world. So low unemployment, low poverty, people are more laid back. There's more to go. If you want to work, you'll get a good job and just show yourself from there.
And
A
have
lot
you?
of people don't even work 5 days a week in Australia. A lot of people work 3 to 4 days a week and are easy able to live like that. And I find a lot of people work from home, go into the office 1 or 2 days, work from home. I see that with a lot of our families from school. I've seen it with Sean and his work.
And apparently, there's a law that your boss can't message you after
Of the
after
hours.
after hours. I would be completely screwed.
We did see it in the news a couple of weeks ago that after your work hours, you do not have to answer your boss's phone call.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure. I was actually interviewing a couple that lived also, though they live in Wodonga in Victoria, not too far from, about maybe 3 hours from where you are. And they were explaining as well, she's a teacher, husband works as an artisan of some sort. But she was saying that that law, Sean, exactly was passed. And she works as a teacher, 38 hours a week. I think it was like 20 hours of that was actually in a classroom, where the other 18 hours was to focus on schooling development, marking, getting extramural activities seen to, these type of things. And as you were saying earlier on, Simone, about having that luxury and the time given to address other things as opposed to try and crunch all of this at work and then
I'm
at
sure
home.
your wife's a teacher, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can actually see it firsthand, you know, well, the differences.
No, absolutely. And just, I think everyone will experience this differently from one another. Simon, I want to touch on like settling in, housing, landing a job. What was that experience like for you guys?
I think it started with you guys, which was amazing, was that once we had gotten our visa, you were like, okay, here's the recruitment side of things from New World Immigration. This is how we go about. And I actually had so many interviews lined up. I was talking to Luke and I was in an interview, but I was actually supposed to be in another interview. So I had Luke phoning me while I was in the interview and he's like, Simone, where are you? Why aren't you in the interview? I'm like, no, I am in the interview. Why are you phoning me? And then I had done another interview like a day later because we had so many interviews lined up and there was so much going on. There was a little bit of miscommunication with where I was supposed to be at what time. And that's how easy it was. And I did 3 job interviews, had 3 offers after that, and chose it. And then from there, we went on and looked at, okay, this was the school that suited us best at the time. And then we started looking for housing and we were very, very blessed because a lot of people told us that you need to be in Australia to do the inspections for housing. Sure. So you can't just, and you have to actually go and view inspections to get the paperwork and stuff like that, because they want you to be able to see the property beforehand. So I know a lot of people that have moved over, friends of ours as well. A lot of people will get an Airbnb. They'll book it from South Africa, stay there for a week or 2, and then do inspections as they come over. And I was like, I'm quite a perfectionist, so I feel like everything has to be in place or I don't feel okay with stuff. So I said to Sean, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to message on one of the Facebook groups on Australia, like South Africans living in Melbourne. And I put up a message there and I was like, oh, what's the chances, that someone will be able to help us? But they can at least lead us in the right direction because we have no idea what we do. And I put up there saying, this is the area we're going to be in. And the crazy thing was someone messaged me and was like, let me know, I have a house in that area. The person was actually selling at the time. He didn't sell his house. He actually let us rent it. And the crazy thing, he had been in Australia 14 years. Him and Sean went to the same high school.
No ways.
What on earth?
Now that's what you call a small world. What is
serendipity? What did I say?
And here we are, we're still in the same house a year and a half later, and we know he does want to sell, and we're very disappointed because we still want to rent a little bit longer. But we're so thankful for that because just putting yourself out there and asking those questions and not worrying and saying on Facebook, like, look, guys, we need help. Like, this is where we're at, and just through that, look at where it led us. And the house that we're renting is 2 kilometers from the school I ended up being at.
Wow.
2 kilometers.
That's amazing.
I drive to school 5 minutes before school starts.
I was going to ask, have you got a bicycle or are you driving to school?
A scooter.
Well, the best thing is you could. If we actually, Sean and I joked about that the other day. I was like, I want to get one of those electric bike scooters because everyone.
I think you should. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Hey, rocking up there.
Do that for Aaron. And we bought a car about a year and a half ago, and we literally live, I think, within 2 kilometers from
cool.
in Sunningdale here in Cape Town. And she lives, she works at 2 kilometers. Aaron, you don't need a car. A scooter would work perfectly fine. If not, even a bicycle. Put your little basket in front and off you go.
And Sean, you got a double cab? No? Yes?
What have you got there?
I do.
He couldn't. He couldn't resist.
No. That's amazing.
Nice. Well, Hilux.
I wouldn't say it's very common yet to drive a ute, as I would say, not a bucky. But in the industry I am, and where I come from, I'm used to it. So
what do you sell?
I sell into all industries, so mining, ports, food and bev. So I sell industrial equipment into
Nice.
all of those industries.
And the two of you, you're earning pretty well. You've got a home. You're renting a home. You both got vehicles. So financially, would you say that it's less challenging than South Africa to maintain a lifestyle and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it is definitely better salary compared. So if you look at a salary of a teacher in South Africa compared to a salary of a teacher in Australia, they do look after them a lot better.
Yeah.
Myself as well, the salaries are much higher, but the costs are much higher.
Sure.
But the gap between the costs and the earnings, it's much bigger in Australia. So where I also had a good position in South Africa, earning a decent salary, but I felt that even with that salary, the income and expense gap was very small. Where here it's much larger, meaning that you can save easily more.
Okay. So
We're
disposable
very
income.
privileged to save quite a lot of money, and then we still do lots of activities during the weekend. We often take Hayes out to do things. We enjoy eating out every now and then, and we still we had a nice big holiday in Jan where we flew to the Gold Coast, and we got to experience the Gold Coast within our first year of living here.
Brilliant.
So, and we
That's
spent
incredible.
a week in the Gold Coast. We saw all the theme parks and did all the things. So I definitely think the cost to living is very different. Like if you can, for example, like medical aids, look at medical aids. Like here, you don't even need to actually be on medical aid. Like
Tell us about that. So you're on Medicare, right?
Yeah.
yeah, with Medicare, but you have to be permanent resident to do it. So we often push people to look at permanent residency.
have
Yes,
to.
it takes longer. Yes, it's a bit more expensive, but oh
You
my
gotta
goodness,
do it.
in the long run, we couldn't be
It's worth the
happier,
investment.
especially with a little one as well. But I actually had a surgery last year in Australia through the Medicare system. I did not pay a cent, not for a blood test, not a doctor's appointment, not the surgery, not the hospital. I did not take a cent out of my pocket.
Brilliant.
Wow. I was actually going to ask you what your experience has been like with healthcare and other public services. You apparently you walk into a police station and it looks like a hotel lobby.
Unlike us. You know what I noticed
It is everywhere.
when I went to Perth, I went to Cairns, and I went to Sydney. The first thing you notice is the investments made in, like, from a public infrastructure perspective, into children's activities. Like the parks are like
Apparently the parking is
unbelievable. Everything's painted beautifully. Everything's the best equipment, the best slides, the best swings, and like the grounds around are unbelievable. That's the first thing that I noticed. Like just like from a public space point of view, like there's just so much investment that goes into. They want people to be out. They want people to have a good life.
Yeah,
They want
enjoy
people
their
to then
surroundings.
return to work, feeling recharged, feeling happy. That then results in good production from an economic point of view. So it makes sense, right? It just makes perfect sense.
absolutely.
Yeah, they've got a lot of missions where I enjoy fishing, so they stock the dams and lakes regularly, and they actually encourage young people to go fish. They have fishing competitions, and this whole recreational part of Victoria, it's amazing. And most of the activities you can do on a Saturday and Sunday doesn't cost you anything. It's just your gear to go fish or go walk in a park and go camping in a national forest. It's really, it doesn't take much out of you to go do those things and to get your kids and yourself experience the wildlife and the beauty of this country.
And it's safe.
Let's talk about the big question. The one reason why people don't move to Australia. Snakes and spiders. Is it true? Are there snakes and spiders everywhere?
we thought
Is it a
the
myth?
same. I can remember we first moved into our house, and our house that we moved into had actually been vacant for like 6 months because they were actually sunny. There was no one living in it. And obviously there was 1 or 2 spiders that had decided to make home in our home. And we were like, oh my gosh, there are so many spiders. But obviously once we started living in the house of it, but we checked our shoes every day for the first few months because of everything everyone said. No, we have not. I've never seen it. We haven't seen the snake.
It's one of the biggest reasons why some of our prospective clients don't actually make the move because
To Australia, they'd rather go to Canada.
Canada, there's no spiders.
but
Yeah.
there's not a spider inside.
minus 40, but there's no spiders. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
so
Brilliant.
one thing I can share is I made a good Australian friend, and in that first couple of months, I asked him, "Are there really so many spiders and snakes here?" And he said, "Mate, I've been living here for 30 years. I've never seen a snake."
I think we see more
So that
snakes
also
and
opened
mothballs
my
down the
eyes.
road here. Than-
Definitely. Simone, I want to just go back to your teaching, the conversation around your teaching. There's a lot of effort put in by government and the authorities to, like, they do a lot of investment into the well-being of teachers. So comparatively, you look at teaching in South Africa, we find that, I'm sure that you would probably agree with Aaron, that teachers are left to their own devices. They're stuck in classrooms with massive amounts of kids.
Often have to use your own money for buying resources.
Yeah. Tell us about the support you get from government in your profession.
No, I definitely think it is a difference. If you look at the classrooms, you look at your equipment in the classrooms, what you can use, like all the things that are there available for you. It's very first world, and we get a lot of support. I think in many ways, and I've been doing math this year. Like, what's beautiful is you work with a team, you plan different subjects, you can swap and swap as you want to. You also have someone that helps you with like curriculum development. So there's all these people in management and in place to help you with different areas where you are teaching. I think every teacher knows teaching is a hard job. I don't think that changes whether you're in South Africa or Australia, wherever you may be. Teaching is definitely, I believe it has to be a passion, because teaching is not easy. I'm exhausted at the end of the day, no matter where I've been.
It's for the kids.
But,
It's for the kids.
It is so. It definitely is. But I do feel like there is a huge support here, and I also find in Australia that they do take your well-being seriously. Like, I can remember last year at the end of the year we had just immigrated. It was like a busy year. It was crazy, and I was just exhausted. And I had spoken to my principal about it, and we were talking, and she was like, "Take a mental health day." I was like, "What's a mental health day?" She's like, "I just take a mental health day." I was like, South Africans don't know what a mental health day is. If you tell your boss you're taking a mental health day, they'll be like, "I will never see you again."
Yeah.
It was like a mental health
There's
day.
a warning letter.
Yeah, a warning letter for.
So if you're feeling burnt out and you're legitimately, like, needing some time off, you can actually request a mental health day, and they would grant you that as part of the setup, right?
Definitely. I've seen posts of teachers on I'm on a lot of the Facebook groups where teachers have taken a week of mental health. I mean, I think for us South Africans, like I say, it's a rat race for us. We're so used to grinding and working extremely hard that those things aren't in place. I think we go until we burn out, and we have no choice.
Well, this is the sad thing. It's like,
You go to work sick, whether you're burnt out, or you've got the flu, or you've got whatever.
it's the same thing with nurses and teachers. I think they're in the same category because they're so passionate about their work
Nurses and teachers.
yeah, there's a vulnerability, and I think, like, the system takes advantage of those professions. Because they know they're not going to kick up a fuss. They know they're not going to leave because they're so passionate about helping people, looking after children.
Security.
Yeah.
The scarcity of opportunities in South Africa in comparison to Australia is like chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
Where you find yourself a job in SA or different parts of Africa, you want to stay in that position for as long as possible because it's security.
Yeah. Amazing.
Even nurses, I can say, when I got my procedure done, the nurses here you can see there's that passion, because I think, first of all, they paid well. You paid for the job you do. Yes, it's a hard job, but you're paid well. But they just have that passion, that calm, that kindness. Like, you're not scared to press the buzzer because you don't want to be met by the eyes of, what's going on. Why are you calling me? You could call them 3:00 in the morning through the buzzer, and they're there to help. How can I help you? They are so patient, so kind. It's just a different mentality here.
I would like to find out something, okay, so let's take a couple of steps back. So you've started the immigration journey. No, let me start before that. Before you've chosen an agent. Now, you're thinking of different countries to look at potentially moving to, and then, okay, great. we find a country, we've got more or less an idea of where in the country we'd like to go. What fears did you have back then and going through the immigration journey? And then when you land in Australia, you realize, hold on, why did I even have those fears? Or,
Good question.
I had those fears and it was such a huge mountain for me to overcome. But then when you get there, you realize I didn't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience something like that, guys?
Yeah, obviously we made that decision about 3 years ago before we started the process, and we are a young family, one daughter, and the first thing was the fear of the unknown. If are we going to be accepted in our workplaces? Are we going to be accepted in our community? Will we face people that's against us? So that was a big fear for us. And obviously, when we immigrated, we didn't have a shipment or anything. We came here with 6 bags.
Wow.
6 bags, that was it. And we moved in here, and our fear was, we'll be able to have all the necessities that first couple of months. Who's going to show us around how to use a train? How to go to renew our licenses or convert our licenses? And looking back, how everything fell in place, and meeting those people at the home affairs, they will call it. And I remember me and her walking into the bank and to that place and saying, listen, we just arrived here a week ago. We need to open a bank account, and we also need to convert our licenses. Could you please help us? And every single person that we've met like that took us step for step by the hand, helped us. And within the first week, all of that was done.
First few hours.
Yeah, in the first week, we had a bank account, we had converted our licenses. That was before this laws came in now, but
tax numbers.
Yeah, tax numbers, everything. And that was a lot of concerns because we couldn't do that before we arrived. So we were thinking, is it going to take 2 months? Is it going to take 3 months? And everything was done in the first week.
Wow.
And looking back now, we stressed. We couldn't sleep for nights on end that December before we left.
And Sean, that's it. I mean, we speak to families every day, as you know, and that's one of the biggest things, am I going to be accepted into society, at work? How are my kids going to socialize with other kids in Australia? Are we going to be able to keep our heritage, especially a lot of South Africans being Afrikaans, they're very proud of their background, which you should be. And am I able to keep that tradition strong in my household in Australia? Or am I have to change everything from day one? What are have you got any pointers for anyone out there or the viewers out there on that topic?
So you get cultural days here too, where everybody celebrates their culture. And every now and then I'll wear my Springbok jersey to town. So that's the first time.
Do people like part the seas, or do they run away, or what happens? What happens?
No.
Bow down.
New Zealanders do. The New Zealanders do.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So I'll go to the hardware store the one day when I wore my Springbok jersey, and you wouldn't believe, it's about 10 minutes drive from here and back. There was probably 10 South Africans that greeted me because of that jersey. And the funny thing about that is you feel so alone in your everyday because you don't hear the Afrikaans or the home languages. But as soon as people see that you're South African, you see them around every corner. And once you're in that community, you'll start seeing similar people that immigrated here 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
We've got a South African shop here that if you want to speak Afrikaans, I go to that shop and I can have a good chat for half an hour, buy some biltong, some Oma biscuit, and then come back home. So I must say, I still have my culture. I met friends here, not from South Africa. I met friends here that I speak Afrikaans to. And like I said again, they are very accepted here. You'll see they'll show interest in my language. My Australian friends want to know what I say when I speak Afrikaans to my family in South Africa. So that's what we experienced.
And depending how angry Sean makes me, I can also speak very colorful of it.
Some of your blocks up.
Oh, well, at least the traffic's not doing that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not a taxi or
absolutely.
something like that.
Tell us about like I think we'll end off pretty soon, but like tell us about like some people call the Australia the nanny state. It's like there's too many rules, there's too much governance, there's too many strict like boundaries. Like, do you still feel that? I don't know. Like, is it like, does it put pressure on you? Like all the rules?
That's funny enough. That's one thing I heard a lot before I immigrated.
Yes.
And people there telling me that the speed limit is so low and you're not allowed to do this and do this. You're not even, they told me that you're not even allowed to use wood on a fire. And that's not true. And I must say, all the other rules and regulations, you get used to it quite quick.
And they're there for a reason. They're it's understandable why we have fire ban days when it's 40-degree weather outside, and they don't come often. But that one day, you can completely understand why things are in place, and it's only for your own safety. And even the rules of the road are there for a reason. You can see why they're there. And
well, we got such huge problems.
We didn't go 1 kilometer over this. I think we were actually driving.
I can imagine.
And it's not like that.
So traffic fines here are much higher.
Yes, and it's like a point system. Yeah.
Yes, and speed limits are much lower. But we in that mindset that it's a very good thing. They've got a very low road death toll here.
We only drive fast because we need to get to the next place to make the next buck to try and survive to eat the meal. But I mean, you don't have to. You're just like, I'm enjoying life. Like, I'm going to drive at 70 k's an hour. Like, no problem.
Yeah,
sure.
And the roads, your highways, and if you look at all the different infrastructure and stuff like that, it's just different. So you've got your 5-lane highway, and everyone's just moving, and yeah, you can understand why the rules are in place. And no, they're not. We were petrified when we got here because we felt the same. We also had that. But I think there were so many things in our head that we had the idea of that are so different when you get here. And once you've settled in, it is, you think to yourself, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe those are the things we were worried about. Or you look back and you're like, why didn't we do this sooner? I think like silly things that no one tells you about. I'd be more worried about using the self-checkout at this grocery store than the cops. That was crazy doing that for the first time, like trying to scan all your groceries.
Self-checkout. Can you imagine like if we had self-checkout in South Africa? Like,
I think they've actually got one now. Checkers has actually done that. I think their shop is called Unique.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's
good luck to
only
them.
Shop. Because Checkers can afford like to lose 5 or 10 grand worth of clothing every 2 or 3 hours, man. But I think to end off, if there was anything, and I don't want to come across as wanting you to sell New World or the services and whatnot, so I want to kind of push that aside. If there was a family that was wanting to start this process and begin work on the immigration process with their family, what advice would you give them, Sean and Simone?
So from my side, we were very scared when we made the decision, but where we're sitting now, being able to take my daughter down here to the park, let her play for half an hour, walk with her scooter back, public transport that's working, the life that we're living now compared to 3 years ago, we are blessed. And I would tell any family that really wants to take on this, be open-minded, come here with an open heart, and you'll receive a lot of help, and you'll receive a lot of warm welcomes, as well as a better life, definitely.
And I think for us, like using New World Immigration, I mean, we're still chatting to you guys. I mean, Sean, you and I still stay in communication a year and a half later after that. I mean, I popped you a message on WhatsApp, not through email or whatever, the other day, and I was like, we've got friends, they're in a predicament, visa situation. Can I send them your way for advice and help? And I mean, now they are clients of yours too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I think it speaks for itself from our side, and the reason we still are in contact with you guys. And I can remember doing that inquiry the first time, and we put it to the side. We had we hadn't done anything with it. And then we went through a thing where Hazy was really sick. We couldn't get her to the doctor. There were strikes going on. It was a whole situation. We were in the Kruger National Park, and Sean looked at me and he's like, we're immigrating. And I just pulled up that email from a year ago. I re-emailed, and no one was like, oh, why are you coming back a year later? They were like, yes, how can we help you? Let's get the process started. And we never looked back. Here we are.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
It's,
what an incredible story.
It is.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Scheepers. It's we've got so many clients that are feeding back the same story.
Yeah.
Back.
Share the same sentiments.
Yeah. It really
That is
is an incredible place.
Sean, I think from one father to another, and Robbie being a father himself of two, I think that is one of the most important things, at least from the feedback that families give me on a day-to-day, and reasons why they want to immigrate is for the little ones. But I think it's so important to be able to, as a parent, not be fearful and worried about their child's safety, security, and the level of education they're going to be experiencing, and just knowing that that's no longer a concern that you shouldn't be worrying about in the first
Shouldn't
place.
be worrying
You
about
should not be worrying about that.
Yeah.
And being able to walk down to the park, spend half an hour, 45 minutes playing with your kiddo, and then enjoy the
South
walk
Africans
back.
are so numb to it. We're like so numb to it. I mean, the thing that you had something happen to you 2 weeks ago. I'm looking for a new house to rent. My wife, we went into the one house, beautiful. My wife said, we can't stay here because there's just no security here. And it's like,
Yeah.
why are we having this conversation?
Yeah.
I mean, I love South Africa. I'm an absolute patriot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so do you, and so do you guys. But as Sean was saying, it's just like it's about your family. It's about protecting your family and not having to worry about these things.
I wish we could turn the computer around and show you all our glass doors with no safety bars on them. Our front door that leads to our front garden with not a single gate. We open the garage in the morning, jump in the car with the garage open. I mean, the garage and it leads to the street, obviously to your front garden, to the street. I can get into the car if Sean's not here with Hayes, pop her in there. I haven't worried. Sean doesn't have to worry when we're going to the park alone. I've walked to the park numerous times with Hazley alone, gone to town with her alone. I used to go to the mall in South Africa, or even just the shopping center around the corner. And Sean would phone me 5-6 times. Are you guys okay? Where's Hazley? Are you holding her? And he would drive me insane. And now when I don't hear from him, I'm going like, we're still alive. Did you know that? He's like, yeah, no, you're fine.
Why would you phone me?
Yeah.
That's so
crazy.
true.
Sean works away sometimes.
Yeah.
We sleep with peace in our minds. We don't have one security gate, one just sliding doors that lead to our veranda, and we don't have. It's so weird. I've actually never.
It seems very foreign.
I spoke about security.
It seems very
The
foreign.
thing is that not to get like an Sean moment, but unfortunately, our house was broken into about a month ago. People were tied up, and they literally ransacked the house for 3.5 hours. And in the area that we bought in, we never thought that would ever happen. And reality hits you. You think, wow, this is not a
joke.
story.
It's not a story.
It's not some friend's neighbor that
It's
experienced
actually
it 5
happening,
years ago.
and it's
It
close to home.
happened,
It's close to home.
And it's scary. It really is scary. And I think for many viewers out there have unfortunately experienced the same. And ladies and gentlemen, as Sean and Simone Scheepers have just said, if this is something that you guys are looking to achieve, let's get in contact. Let's put our heads together and see how we can make this happen.
Sean and Simone, thanks. I don't know where I think she's fallen off the chair. But yeah, thanks so much for your time. I mean, it's really good to hear from the horse's mouth. What life is like there. Yeah, I know it's late there, and we are really, really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys. Thank you for the time, and again, thank you for the good service we received in the past.
No,
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Well,
We'll speak to you soon. We'll keep in contact.
we'll say goodbye to Simone some other time. She's gonna pop her head in now. Okay.
No, all good.
Yeah, the
Cheers,
little one
guys.
is busy. I'll tell her.
Okay. Thanks, Sean. Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Take
Ciao,
care.
bye-bye.
Cheers, Sean. Bye.